Hello and welcome to a short video about rearranging equations, which is also called changing the subject of an equation. And what we're doing here, using exactly the same skills as we do when we're solving an equation, is we're changing the letter in front of the equals sign. The letter that's on its own in front of the equals sign is the subject of an equation. So we've got here h equals 3g minus w. At the moment, h is the subject, but I want g to be the subject. So I need to get that g out and all on its own. So if you can't remember how to solve equations, do watch my other video about the teenager method and backwards BIDMAS. But here, using backwards BIDMAS, I'm going to add w first. So h plus w is 3g. I want to get g on its own, so I'm going to divide by 3. So I get h plus w over 3 equals g. So now I've got the g on its own next to the equal sign, so g is the subject. It's no more difficult really than solving equations. It's exactly the same skills, but it feels more difficult because we can't check things with numbers. We can only deal with the different letters. So a slightly more complicated example here. I've got 3w minus 2 over h equals x. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to use backwards BIDMAS and the teenager method. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply by h. So I get 3w minus 2 equals hx. Add 2 to both sides to get 3w equals hx plus 2. And now be careful, I need to divide by 3, and the whole of the right hand side is going to be divided by 3. So I'll have w is equal to hx plus 2 all over 3. Just be careful, as I say, make sure that you're showing that whole of the right hand side is divided by 3. Here I want to make f the subject, so I need to get f on its own. Now I know when we're solving equations we'd often multiply out here, and you can do so, it makes no difference. I get 5gh minus fh equals j. I want to get f on its own, so I could minus 5gh from both sides to get minus fh equals j minus 5gh, and then divide by minus h. Now I need to divide by minus h to get f on its own, not minus f. So f is j minus 5gh over minus h. And that's just not quite right. We don't really want to do that if we can. We can simplify it like this: minus j minus 5gh just over h. That minus sign's just come out from the fraction. But of course with fractions, if you change all of the signs on the top, it stays the same. So I could also say that's 5gh minus j over h. And the reason that I would be allowed to do that is I'm multiplying top and bottom by the same, and multiplying top and bottom by minus 1. And of course with fractions, if we multiply top and bottom by the same thing, it keeps the fraction the same. Okay, this is a slightly different question from we just looked at, because the divide isn't going all the way across. So I haven't got something that's affecting the whole of the left hand side anymore. I'm going to make w the subject again, so the first thing to do is add c. So I get 3w minus h over g equals d plus c, and I say the reason I need to add c first is because this divided by here isn't affecting the whole of the left hand side, so I need to get rid of that c first. And multiply the whole of the right hand side by g, so 3w minus h equals g d plus c, which you could multiply out if you wanted to, but there's no compulsion to. So 3w is equal to g d plus c plus h, and then I need to divide that whole thing by 3 to get w on its own. So g d plus c plus h all over 3. This one here is more difficult again because I've got two different a's in different places. Really what I need to do first here is make it all into one fraction. So I've got 5c minus a all over 8p minus 5a. So if I multiply 5a by 8p over 8p, then I'll be able to bring those together in a second. So I'm going to have 5c minus a minus 40ap all over 8p, and that equals w. And so what I've done there is I've multiplied by 8p over 8p, which is obviously the same as multiplying by 1. That gives me that 40ap over 8p. If I multiply both sides by 8p, I'll have 5c minus a minus 40ap equals 8pw. And then what I'm going to do is minus the 5c from both sides to get minus a minus 40ap equals 8pw minus 5c. Now, I want a on its own. I've got a written in two different places. So the only thing that I can do is factorise. So I'm going to take a factor of a out. So that's a times minus 1 times, and then minus 40p. So that there will give me the minus a, and that will give me minus 40ap. And that equals 8pw minus 5c. So hopefully you can see now, if I divide by that bracket, I'll get a on its own. So a is equal to 8pw minus 5c all over minus 1 minus 40p. But again, we don't really want that minus there if we can. So look, I can do it, I can factorise that again over minus 1 plus 40p, and then just bring the minus outside of the fraction. I get minus 8pw minus 5c over 1 plus 40p, or you could make that 5c minus the 8pw over minus 1 minus 40p. But of course we're then getting the minuses back in there, so it wouldn't make so much sense. So a question like this can look a little bit more tricky, as I've got a at the bottom of a fraction, but we can still use the same idea. I can multiply by a to get 3a squared equals cd. Think about backwards BIDMAS, we're going to sort out the 3 before we sort out the squared. So a squared is equal to cd over 3. I want a on its own, so I'm going to square root. So a is the square root of cd over 3. So we can still use those slightly more complicated things like square roots and cube roots to get a letter on its own. But when it's at the top of a fraction and I've got this letter that I need on both sides, then we do just need to think about what we're going to do. So I'm going to multiply through by d, so I'm going to get 3ad minus 2pd is equal to ac. Now, exactly as we did a minute ago, I need to get all of the a's together. So I'm going to have 3ad minus ac is equal to 2pd. So I've added 2pd to both sides and subtracted ac from both sides. The reason I've done that rather than subtracting 3ad is just to keep the a positive. As I say, as I did a minute ago, we're going to factorise to get a on its own. So I've got a written twice. So that's 3d minus c in the bracket is equal to 2pd. And to get a on its own, we're just going to divide by the bracket. Now this bit about getting things into a bracket by factorising and then doing a division is really important if you're thinking about things like AS or A-level maths. So it's a good one to get under your belt now. I hope that helps. Thanks very much.